Atlantic hurricane season is off to a very slow start, but things are picking up, and climatologically, we are getting closer to the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season as we have five tropical systems to watch over the next 7 to 10 days. And oh, yeah, we have a major heat wave across the middle of the country. We'll break all of this down for you and much more in today's forecast. If you're not a new subscriber to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below as I cover all of North America, including southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. It's also very important to press the thumbs up button as this gets all this weather information out to as many people as possible. I definitely appreciate it. So looking here at the Gulf of Mexico, we do have a system down here in the open waters of the Gulf. This is likely going to become a tropical storm as it heads towards southern Texas, the Brownsville region up through Corpus Christi and just south of Houston over the next couple of days. And you can see going in towards that Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening time frame, it's going to be crashing ashore South Texas as a tropical storm most likely before weakening back to a tropical depression as it moves over the Rio Grande Valley into northern Mexico during the middle of the week. We already have tropical storm warnings and watches posted up and down the coast of Texas from Corpus Christi all the way down to Brownsville as of currently. So we're going to continue to watch this. Precipitation this afternoon, hefty amounts of rainfall are expected near the Rio Grande Valley in southern Texas here. It's going to be raining heavily there into Corpus Christi, down into Brownsville this afternoon. That continues through tonight with the heaviest of the rains crossing over into northern Mexico as we go deeper into the nighttime hours. And then we have lingering rainfall over northern Mexico and southern Texas, including the Rio Grande Valley here as we go into your Wednesday morning time frame, continuing to add additional rainfall accumulations to what we've already seen as we go through today. Here are your total rainfall accumulations now through your Thursday time frame on August 24th. We can expect 2 to as much as 4 inches of rain across the Rio Grande Valley here, southern Texas. I know it's been very dry, very hot down in this region. So from Corpus Christi to Brownsville and further west, even into northern Mexico, we could be seeing as much as 4 inches of rain, and even isolated pockets of more than 4 inches will be possible here right along portions of the Texas and Mexico border there. So we're going to continue to watch that as well. Looking at the flash flooding potential now through Wednesday, it looks like a slight risk of flash flooding across southern Texas going into your Wednesday morning. That shifts off to the west with just a marginal risk of flash flooding as we go into West Texas and southern New Mexico Wednesday into Thursday. So not a major flash flooding event, but definitely a potential for some isolated flash flooding events across southern Texas over the next 24 to 48 hours. Looking across the rest of the North Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf, it is very busy after a slow start to hurricane season out here. The El Nino looming across portions of the world, really. We're actually seeing this starting to take hold across the Atlantic with lots of active weather. We have Franklin out here as a tropical storm in the eastern Caribbean. We have Gert out here as well as a depression just to the east of the Lesser Antilles, and a couple areas of interest with at least a low to high chance of development over the next 7 days as fish storms across the North Atlantic here. So the areas of concern are going to be over here toward the Dominican Republic and the Caribbean. As we go into the day on Wednesday, Franklin is going to continue to make its presence known and become stronger as it presses further to the north here as we go through Wednesday. Going through the Friday time frame, we start to see lowering of the pressures as Franklin moves over the Dominican Republic across portions of the western Atlantic as a 1007 millibar low. Meanwhile, over here, we have another system in the main development region trying to develop here on Friday. And then the system we're really keeping an eye on will be Franklin as it crosses over the Dominican Republic into the western Atlantic by the end of the weekend on Sunday, August 27th. This could become a formidable tropical storm, if not a hurricane, across the western Atlantic. We have to watch this for the Bahamas and the East Coast United States because the European forecast model by early next week on Tuesday, August 29th, drops this to a 981 millibar low pressure center just to the east off the Carolina coast there. The GFS a little faster with this system, up to a 973 closer toward the northeast coast. And also, the Canadian model is in the same boat as the GFS as a 971 just off the northeast coast. So there is three main operational models here that are showing a formidable storm across the western Atlantic, whether it hits Florida, the Carolinas, the Northeast, or just misses the U.S. altogether is unknown at this point. We will keep you updated on this as we do get closer toward this weekend and into next week. Now, the other top story is the heat across the country here. We have a 600 decameter high pressure system. This is the geopotential height. And whenever you see here meteorologists saying building heights across North America, this is what they're referring to as a heat wave starts to develop across portions of the Midwest going into today and persists through the end of the week on Thursday. But we start to break down the northeastern periphery of that ridge as we go into late week and into the weekend, allowing for some cooler air and some northwesterly flow aloft from Canada down into the Great Lakes and Northeast to develop with some cooler air here. But the heat will persist where it has been all summer long across the southern and central plains, baking conditions down here as we go into this upcoming weekend. We have widespread heat headlines, and I mean widespread across the middle of the country here. Excessive heat warnings across the entire state of Missouri, Iowa, most of Arkansas, really just much of the country here. Heat advisories, excessive heat watches, red flag warnings down here into Texas, getting into Louisiana and southern Mississippi, where the soil is very dry, very hot and windy conditions down here, causing some elevated to critical fire weather concerns over the next several days. And here are your high temperatures this afternoon. Yeah, we're well into the triple digits across the Great Plains, all the way up even into Minnesota and South Dakota this afternoon. We could be seeing high temperatures in excess of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That continues on Wednesday. The peak of the heat, I think, is on Wednesday here this week, and that does mean that we're going to see high temperatures well into the triple digits. 106 in Des Moines, 111 there in Sioux Falls, and 107 up there into Omaha, Nebraska on Wednesday. Thursday, we still see the heat continuing through the middle of the country, and then we're going to start to see that break down as we go into Friday and into this upcoming weekend. Check out the temperatures across the Great Lakes into the Northeast. Yeah, we're seeing 70s, 60s, even some 50s for high temperatures there. It's unfair to see that across portions of New York where they haven't really seen a lot of heat this summer. Yeah, the heat's going to stay in place across the areas that have seen it this summer into the central and southern plains later this week. But looking at the long range pattern, we start to see the heat start to retract back further to the west across the western areas here, back into the Rockies, and then again back into the southern plains. This takes us into the latter part of this upcoming weekend on Sunday, August 27th, taking us through much of next week, which is the last full week there into August, taking us through Thursday, August 31st. Cooler than normal temperatures are expected across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast during this period, but underneath that high pressure system, we're just not going to see a lot of rainfall, so expect well below average precipitation across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and all the way down to the deep south. A bit of some active weather we'll have to watch here from the I-95 corridor down through the East Coast and into Florida. That could be associated with some tropical moisture across the East Coast here that we will have to watch, and also some active weather across the West, especially the Pacific Northwest, getting in through much of next week. We will also have to watch maybe some flooding concerns up here into Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho as we go through much of the rest of August. Looking at the total rainfall accumulation now through Friday on September 1st, this goes all the way through the rest of the month of August here. Yeah, there's some rainfall hinting here on especially the European forecast model of some heavier rains into the northern plains, the Midwest, as we break down the northern and northeastern periphery of that ridge. Tropical moisture from Maine all the way down to Florida could result in some heavier pockets of rainfall here and there as well. And across the Pacific Northwest, very busy with some more active weather as we've had a dry spell going through much of the summer. We're going to get some wet conditions across Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, into western Montana. Even southern Canada gets pretty wet as we go through that September 1st timeframe, so we'll continue to watch that as well. And I am concerned about the drought as we still have the severe extreme drought, even parts of the exceptional drought still hanging on down here, especially into central Texas. We are going to eat away away at that a little bit into the Rio Grande Valley with that moderate severe drought down there with that tropical system moving in. Other than that, though, I think the drought conditions will slowly worsen back across the Midwest and portions of the southern plains with the impending heat as we go through the rest of the week. So we'll have to keep an eye on that going through the long term period. Well, if you want additional weather forecast updates here, hit the description down below the video, and the link to X is down there at HWeather420. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching today's weather forecast. Make sure to share this video with friends, family, anybody you know. Press the thumbs up button if you like today's video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday out there.